Attention. Welcome to the Different Spectrums podcast. We dive into the wild world of mental health discussions. Get ready for profound talks, a sprinkle of humor and sarcasm, and a touch of colorful language. Just a quick heads up, our show reflects our individual opinions, which may not align with the standpoint of the podcast, our featured guests, or any related corporate entities. Our mission? To illuminate through laughter and satire because everyone needs a good chuckle. Chill out and don't stress over the small stuff. Legal troubles? No, thank you. Cancel culture? Please spare us. We'd rather keep this space lawsuit free. So buckle up, have a good time, and join us as we navigate the vibrant realm of mental health on the Different Spectrums podcast. Hey everybody, we back again.
Hey, we back. We're live.
I'm Spencer, your co-host, and of course we have our licensed clinical therapist, Naz.
I got a mustache now. You see it? Is it thick?
Remember, don't take us too seriously.
Or do. That's completely up to you.
Also, don't forget to run up those likes for us. We'd really appreciate it. So, our guest for today is a dynamic advocate for mental health, leadership, and personal growth. She is the founder and CEO of LB Health, a virtual mental health platform offering accessible therapeutic care to help individuals recover from burnout, navigate toxic workplaces, and address trauma. Through her work, she empowers others to show up authentically and live with intention. She also hosts the podcast Different, Not Broken, where she shares real, honest conversations about mental health, neurodiversity, and embracing one's authentic self. Please welcome Lauren L2 Howard to the show.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't have a mustache. Is that a problem?
Yes.
I didn't know.
You either draw one in or you grow one real fast.
I wasn't told in advance. I'm sorry. I didn't
We
know
can
that
get you some. We can get you some tea now. I got some doctors now.
Yep. Jesus Christ.
Also
all
know some
natural
guys at the
supplements.
gym.
All
It's
right.
all natural.
All natural.
I got a best friend that's on natural supplements.
Yep, he's all natural.
All natural.
Just don't look at his blood.
Jesus Christ. Why is he getting strays right now? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know.
It's fine.
It happens. All right. So today we are going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, specifically about Drax. Some topics that we're going to be talking about are is Drax autistically coded? We're also going to be talking about how sometimes with those on the neurodiversity or just on the spectrum in general, how they think that people are talking in riddles because they may not be being literal. And also we're going to be talking about does Drax really know what he's saying when he's either talking to somebody or does he think like he's actually making fun of somebody? We'll find out this episode on Different Spectrums podcast. Naz, anything before we get into the show?
Remember in the second movie, he tells the one girl, like, you're hideous. Like, I would never be attracted to you. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But then by the end, he's like, you're not terrible looking,
he's like,
I guess.
I could see why I could like you.
Yeah. You have a nice personality, but the face still.
It's not. It's the antennas that get me. I'm not into antennas.
I don't know if that was the issue. I think he just likes a muscular lady. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah. Likes them strong.
I like a muscular too, just having to be men.
Yeah. So. He also likes a muscular lady in the video game, Guardians of the Galaxy video game. So
there you go.
He has a type. He likes the strong.
He has a type.
Yeah.
From Mantis, who's recovering from body issues. I'm so sorry that this movie affected you.
So sorry.
Bruh. So we got a lot to get to today when it comes to these scenes. Also, a really awesome human. Seeing all your stuff on threads, talks, postings, saying fuck a lot, challenging a lot of individuals that are saying wild shit in the world, and offering testing assessment. So like, I really wanted to get you on the pod. I reached out and then they're like, oh, send an email. I'm like, all right, send an email. And then eventually y'all got back out to me, which is awesome. I just hate sending emails. I'm just like, just answer the DM. But no one, like, it's emails are hard for me, but it's fine. We're here. We're doing it. We're good. We're alive. We've done Drax before. Some of you guys who have been following us for years now, we actually did one of these scenes a long time ago. Horrible audio. So if you guys look for it, or you're like, oh, I remember this, it was bad. It was when it first began. So I'm really excited to redo it and to have someone on here that's got a company, a specialization. Excited. And then I also am going to talk about Rocket a little bit because it seems pretty fucked up and how it relates to neurodivergent folks too and trauma. So I'm good. Let's get into it. Let's have some fun. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop whoop.
Hey.
There you go.
There it is.
There you go.
I pick up on cues.
You do.
Yeah.
Look at that. She can't be autistic.
No. Picks up on social cues.
Yeah.
That's
That's sarcasm, people.
what?
You might be. Okay. Let's get to the show.
No.
What I'm saying is, you want to keep her alive. Don't do his work for him.
I like your knife. I'm keeping it.
That was my favorite knife.
We need all available guards in full combat gear.
Spare me your foul gaze, woman.
Why is this one here?
We promised him he could stay by your side until he kills your boss. I always keep my promises when they're to muscle-bound whack jobs. Will kill me if I don't. Here you go.
Oh, I was just kidding about the leg. I just need these two things.
What?
No, I thought it'd be funny. Was it funny? No, wait, what did he look like hopping around?
I had to transfer him 30,000 units.
How are we gonna leave?
Well, he's got a plan, right? Or is that another thing you made up?
I have a plan. I have a plan.
Cease your yammering and relieve us from this irksome confinement.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with the walking thesaurus on that one.
Do not ever call me a thesaurus.
It's just a metaphor, dude.
His people are completely literal. Metaphors are gonna go over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
I'm gonna die surrounded by the biggest idiots in the country.
Whoa, whoa! What are you doing?
This vermin speaks of affairs he knows nothing about.
That is true.
He has no respect.
That is also true. Hold on. Keep calling me vermin, tough guy. You just want to laugh at me like everyone else.
Rocket, you're drunk, all right? No one's laughing at you.
He thinks I'm some stupid thing. He does. Well, I didn't ask to get made. I didn't ask to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turned into some little monster.
Rocket, no one's calling you a monster.
He called me vermin. She called me rodent. Let's see if you can laugh after 5 or 6 good shots to your frickin'
No. 4 billion units. Rocket, come on, man. Hey, suck it up for one more lousy night and you're rich.
Fine. But I can't promise when all this is over, I'm not gonna kill every last one of you jerks.
See, that's exactly why none of you have any friends. 5 seconds after you meet somebody, you're already trying to kill them.
We have traveled halfway across the quadrant, and Ronan is no closer to being dead.
Drax!
Let him go.
Hey everyone, have you been looking for something to help you when you feel extra fidgety? How about when you have a sensory overload? Well, I'm here to introduce you to the Oh No Fidget Roller. It helps me regulate and also feel at ease. The Oh No Roller comes in 5 different materials, including plastic, aluminum, steel, titanium, and silicone. You can use our code DSP10 to get 10% off your order when you visit onoroller.com and get your roll on. And we're back again.
Hey, we're back and we're live. Just as live is Drax's sense of metaphors.
Oh, I thought you were going to go in a different direction.
Where do you think I was going to go?
Drax's family.
Oh my God.
They're fucking dead.
This is the darkness that I came here for.
They got
Thank
murdered
you.
by
Just as
Ronan,
live as
the
Drax's family.
accuser.
Oh my God. Well, for just as live as Rocket's family, if you want to go that far.
I mean, you know,
Jesus.
we're
All
staying
his
focused on the
friends
first
died.
film here. All right.
Did we just kill off the whole spoiler alert in case anyone hasn't seen the movie?
Yeah, it's just been like fucking 10
20
years. Yeah.
Everyone dies in these movies. These movies are
James
so
Gunn.
traumatic, bro.
James Gunn.
Bro, I don't
He's
think
good.
I'm pretty sure I've cried in every single Guardians movie.
Yeah. I could see that. I mean, I think the third one really, no, I would say the first one to like the opening scene with his mom
Yep.
and the cancer. Yeah, that was pretty
Yep.
bad. That was pretty bad. Yeah.
Second
Third
one
one.
with Yondu. The second one with Yondu fucked everyone.
yeah.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah. He has no problem killing people. James Gunn. He has no problem just murdering people. Anything you watch with him, he has somebody die. Except for like Scooby Doo. I bet that was only because the studio didn't let him do it, you know?
No.
So if he could do what he wanted, he probably would kill some people in that
Okay.
movie. So
There you
yeah.
go. Well, we're alive here today, so you know.
Oh, really? Okay.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yep. All right. So like we said before, we have our guest, Lauren, aka L2. First one to ask, why L2?
Why?
What does that mean?
Is it like a Star Wars thing? L2D2?
That was
I know
so
it's our
dumb.
shield.
No.
I know.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
The droid in Star Wars was L3.
Yeah,
L3. I was close.
You were close. No, I was the second Lauren on a team, and
Okay.
they couldn't keep us straight, and we both were like we looked physically very similar, and so they just started calling us L1 and L2 so that they could differentiate between us, and it just stuck. I also don't like saying my first name because I don't know how to pronounce it. Like everywhere you go, they say it differently. And so it comes out of my mouth and I'm like, is that right? It doesn't feel right. Blah, blah. And so people started calling me, yeah, it's a blast. People started calling me L2 probably, it was like 10 years ago now. And I was at that job for 5 years. It started amazing and ended up really, really toxic and bad for my mental health. And I very unceremoniously left after about 5 years, which is very not like me. I'm not a person who likes uncertainty or lack of security. And so when I left, I felt like I had left my identity there, and that my whole identity was that job. And I was dealing with kind of the separation part of the job, which is always really ugly when you've been someplace for a really long time. And one of the people that I worked with, actually one of my former clients, called me just to check in and was like, hey, L2, how's it going? And I was like, oh, I can still be that person? They didn't take that away? Okay, cool. Maybe there's something there. And that day I went out and filed L2 LLC and bought the domain L2.com and finished my separation negotiations from Lauren at L2.com, which felt like I was reclaiming my identity and also giving the appropriate amount of middle fingers. And it kind of put me on the trajectory that I'm on now. On the other side of it, my dad's name was Lawrence. My name, Lauren. I was not named for my dad. Jewish people don't do that. But for some reason, my mom decided she liked this name that was very close to my dad's name. And my dad and I were two peas in a pod, like inseparable my entire life with him, I guess is the way to put it. And so what I realized after, for people who didn't know me from that job, they thought I was called L2 because my dad was L1. And I was like, okay, that works. That's fine.
Yeah, but you called him LB though, right? His nickname was LB.
Yeah. We called him LB or Larry B. Yeah.
Larry B. There's only one.
Or
Larry
old
B.
guy.
There's
Often
only
old
one
guy.
Larry B. I'm gonna be real with you. There's only one Larry Bird.
Yeah, it was not my dad.
Let's be clear. Yeah. Wait a minute. Your dad was Larry Bird? Holy
I
shit.
mean,
No.
damn. He's still
No.
Larry Bird died? What the fuck?
Larry
No.
Bird? Well, to be fair, I did
We
kill off
did-
another guy's mom the other day, so like, I mean, it happens.
Well, yeah.
No. different guy.
Okay.
He's not
So it
from
worked out.
Indiana. That's crazy. Okay. Well,
I know. So L2. I had a joke about this and I lost it. It's fine. It'll come back.
alrighty then.
I know. Oh, because she said we were too, we looked alike. I'm like, were they a white person too? I would assume. Like,
Yeah.
so, you white folks all look the same. You know that.
Yeah, no,
It's
very
hard to tell
similar
who's-
noses, very similar twisted senses of humor.
Okay.
It's fine.
L2. It's
L2.
wild.
There you go. All right. Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I see it. I get it. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So we talked a little bit about it. So you have your own company, CEO of, called LB Health. Obviously, you named it after your dad, but how did you create that? And how'd you really, how was your journey really shaping the mission behind it?
Yeah, so I said this briefly before, but I got out of a really bad work environment about around 5 years ago. And as much as I left of my own volition, I definitely spent several days afterward on the floor of my office crying that I had given up my whole career and I would never find another job and nobody would ever understand why I left this really good job. And it was really hard, even though it was my choice. I mean, I did this and it was just like the glass broke. Like went to that job for 3 solid years saying that this is just the best that it's ever going to be. It was great. No, it wasn't. This is the best it's ever going to be. Adults deal with hard stuff. You're not supposed to love your job. That's not realistic. That's not what adults do. If things are hard, they're supposed to be hard. Grow up. And one day I just remember somebody saying something to me and me going, maybe is it possible that there's better out there that I can actually enjoy my life and not dread doing everything that I'm doing every day?
No, there isn't.
And
stay where you're at, die where you're
exactly.
at.
Exactly. Silly me for having aspirations beyond misery.
Mhm.
And it was very much no, this is not possible, until one day it was just yes. And then as soon as it was yes, there was nothing else. And so I left and I found myself in a pile for several days. And I'm a verbal processor. I'm a written processor. And so I felt like I had all this potential energy built up in my body. And I just started writing and started sharing it on LinkedIn. I don't know why. It was just the place that I thought of to share it. I don't know why. And really thinking that people were going to be like, this is embarrassing. Why are you sharing these personal stories on this professional networking site? Or oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's so weird. And instead, what everybody said was, that happened to me too. And I thought it was just me.
Yep.
And I went, come again? Wait, what? Because if it's you and it's me and it's my entire inbox that was literally flooded with hundreds of messages within a day, maybe it's all of us and we're just not talking about it. Maybe work is not supposed to be terrible. Maybe you are not supposed to tolerate abuse just because you're getting a paycheck. Maybe none of that was supposed to happen. And so it really just started having conversations. We built a community. We welcomed in people who had not historically been accepted in the workplace or had always felt like they had to do 10 times the work to get 10% of the recognition. And in the meantime, I met my business partner, who's a physician who's licensed in 50 states, and he and I started building telehealth practices together. We now own 4 of them together. But it was 2 very separate worlds. We had our telehealth world that was still very equity-based, very, allowing people to be who they are and to get affirming care and everything that they needed, but it was very much on the physical health side. And then I had this very heart-centered business, for lack of a better term, where we just talked about this hard stuff all the time. And then one day, I don't know why, one day, almost exactly a year ago, maybe a year and a month ago, I was sitting in my office and I went, why don't I open my own mental health clinic? There's nothing I know better than running mental health clinics. Why haven't I just opened my own mental health clinic? We can talk about, we're doing the talking, because I used to lay on my couch on Saturdays and say, we're doing a lot, but we're not doing enough. What we're doing isn't tangible enough. I don't know that talking about these things is enough, but I couldn't figure out what enough was because I am very smart, but I'm also very stupid. And so I would just sit there and ruminate over these things for like, I'm talking about like a solid year. I would just like drive myself crazy going, I don't know what this is. And one day it was like, you not smart person. It's literally right in front of you. It's been right in front of you your entire career. And so I called up my business partner and I said, hey, do you want to open a mental health practice with me? And he said, yeah. And I went, you don't have more questions than that? And he was like, no, I'm good. And I was like, all right, I guess you called my bluff. Okay, so all right, that's fine. Cool.
Oh fuck.
Shoot. Yeah. Like, oh man. I didn't expect this to be so easy. Well, crap. And then I called up a friend of mine. Right, exactly. I called up a friend of mine who's an incredible therapist, and I said, hey, do you want to open a mental health practice with me? And she said, yeah. And I went, wait, you also don't have more questions? Hold on, wait. And within like 10 days, we had a business plan. We knew who we were serving. We knew what insurances we wanted to take. We knew we wanted to serve in 50 states. We knew like it all just like poured out of me like it had been waiting for somebody to just break the dam the whole time. That was about a year ago. We are now in all 50 states for clinical assessments for autism and ADHD, adult autism and adult ADHD, I should say. We are in 43 states for mental health treatment. We'll probably be in all 50 very soon. I can actually double check this. I think we just onboarded our 1,000th patient yesterday or today, which I can't believe I can say out loud. And I have not said out loud at all until this very moment.
You heard it here, folks. 1,000.
1,000.
You don't know, 1,000. You don't know. I like that nice number too. You know.
My system is freezing. Of course it is, but I'll tell you once it loads. But
so you got people of color on the webpage. Shit crashed. FBI crashed it. You got too many colors on
They
today.
shouldn't be on here.
We actually are at 1,005.
1,005. I don't like that number.
So that happened quickly. Sorry, it's not a perfectly round number. I'll discharge 5 people really quickly. It's
there
fine.
you go.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
You're not autistic enough. Get out of here, you normie.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
right.
God.
That's right.
If you ain't eating Legos, I don't like you.
I'll just let me randomly pick, and 5 of them are gone. All right, now we're back down to it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, why were they all black people, Lauren? What are you doing?
Lauren,
Oh my
no.
God, I'm sorry.
That's not how that
Jamal.
works.
Oh my God. It's all equity based, I swear.
Let's see. Lower paying ones. There they are. Click, click. Oh.
Yeah, well, Trump's taking them ones away, so it's fine.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
all right.
We're going to be around. I'm so sorry for the sarcasm. That was funny.
You do not have to apologize to me for sarcasm. That is,
okay.
If love languages weren't gross, that would be my love language.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, it's been a wild year, and
Awesome.
we've done a lot in a year, but that's how we ended up here.
Just random some shit sometimes, like, man, just boom, 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 boom. You never know. That's when people say, you know, what's my life purpose when they're in college, or what am I going to do with my life? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, I didn't even know until I was like 26, and it keeps changing. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I wanted to die last year. Now I'm here helping clients again. So, like, I mean, you know, you just never know what's going to happen. You never know. So I love that your story evolved and evolved and evolved. Because I feel like a lot of neurodivergent people, like, it's like this one thing. If that one thing shatters, then they're shattered. It's like, no. There's a lot of things. But it's terrifying because it's too much. It's overwhelming. Cool. Dope. Love it.
Yeah. So, you know, we're having jokes here, but we're talking about autism. We're talking about all of these different things that are going on. And right now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he, who is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, had some things to talk about autism. Would love to get both you and Naz's take on this. And what does it mean kind of going forward for those who are who have autism or on the spectrum?
have many takes on this.
Please
I
go
don't know
ahead.
how much
Anything.
time you have, but
It's all day.
so first off, it just is worth saying that everything that came out of his mouth is absolute drivel and means nothing to any scientific community and certainly any medical community. You can't really have a conversation with him without acknowledging what his real intention is, right? So, and there's probably two real intentions. Like,
Okay.
there's a very, very realistic, like, master race edge thing happening in everything he's doing, where we need to send everybody who is not part of our ideal person to wellness camps, which we know what that means, right? Like those are not things that we are making up out of no. Those are things he said. Those are things, if you are on psychotropic medication or on stimulants for ADHD, like, they have said that these people should be farmed to wellness camps, whatever that means. And considering that we are literally not wellness camps exactly, but we're literally doing that with humans who were recently within our country, regardless how you feel about their immigration status, like, we're not that far away from that. Like, it's terrifying. We're not that far away from that. But then the other side of that, which is, I don't want to say it's less sinister because I don't want to give him credit for that. He has a vested interest in there being more people angry about autism because he makes his money referring people for cases for vaccine injuries. Like, that's where he makes his money.
Okay.
And if he can run a government-supported study, which is not a study, it's market research. You do not do a giant study on autism in less than 6 months.
No.
Doesn't happen. But it's market research. That's what he's doing. But if he can do a giant study on autism and figure out some way to link the safe vaccines that we give children with people who are considered high support needs, autistic individuals, he stands to make a shit ton of money. And he has to do that by taking away their personhood, by demeaning them, by making other people who do not experience those individuals feel like they are something to be feared, that their children turning out like them are something to be feared. This is all a game of secondary gain, 100%. I know they said they had said last week that they were going to create a registry of autistic people.
What was all that shit about? My clients are freaking out. I haven't been reading. I'm so busy and inundated with other shit. I'm focused on clients these days.
Don't waste your time reading it. It's trash. But they did say that they were going to create a registry of autistic people. They thought that they were going to get the data from EHRs, basically. That's more or less what they said, that they would use
what's an EHR?
Sorry, electronic health records. So where
Thank
your
you.
doctor or clinician documents their
Yep.
records. I think they thought, first off, this is what happens when you put non-medical people in medical roles. They had no idea that patient records are not just like Word documents that you could ask somebody to upload a PDF of, like that they're in siloed systems. If you've worked in healthcare at all, you know that everything is disparate. Everything. My EHR does not talk to your EHR.
No.
Almost ever. If you can set it up so that it does, it's complicated, it's difficult, it's annoying. There are systems that you can get where you can pull data down so that you can get all of your patients, or as much as possible of your patients' recent medical history, and then also put yours back in. They're called health information exchanges. And in some ways, they're great because it means that you don't need your patient, in some cases, to bring in a whole pile of their discharge paperwork if they were just hospitalized or if they went to see another doctor. Like, there are worlds where it makes sense. But that is about as much interoperability as we get from these systems, is if somebody voluntarily puts information into it and pulls information down from it. They had no idea about this. They thought that they would just go to the place that all the doctors send the information, and that they were going to be like, give us all of that information and we're going to get every piece of information about every autistic person in the world. And people were like, you're going to what? Have you ever touched a medical system? That's not how this works. So our system that we have a great system that my clinicians actually like, which doesn't happen. But it is very lightweight. We don't have a lot of interoperability. I would never participate in a health information exchange for mental health because that could have been weaponized 10 years ago, much less now. And nobody can get into my system without coming through me or coming through one of my clinicians and literally having a username and password to download that information.
Yep.
So getting that information from you is never going to happen. Most I can't speak to large academic centers because they may have different policies based on the sensitivity of the records. And I would imagine that for like infectious disease doctors that deal with a lot of HIV and AIDS, those are very, very protected records. And so they probably have different data privacy rules for those than they do for gastroenterology or something like that. So I can't speak as much to like really big centers, how they feed information back and forth. But I know that if I go to my doctor and I recently went to the emergency room for something, they're not even in the same system and he has the records before I got there. So some of the bigger systems just automatically share the information with each other through these health insurance exchanges. The other thing to keep in mind about health insurance exchanges is that they're very expensive. You have to pay to participate in them. It's for even a small practice, several $1,000s a month, if not more.
Do you think that there's a way for him to obtain any of this data then? So I understand that it's massive and it's big and it's complicated, but does he even have any legal right to obtain any of that information?
He doesn't have a legal right to it at all. He does not have a legal right to it. The question is, do they give a shit about that?
But then it would be up to the clinic to provide that information, but then they would have to be fear of retribution from the presidency. But then how do you threaten them by say like, we'll take away your medical licenses, or will they, if they're a nonprofit organization, will take away your funding? Like, so that's what I'm wondering. I get it's complicated. Is there ways? Because the registry, is it voluntary or involuntary?
So they said they're not doing a registry. That's the important part. They said they didn't say they misspoke, but they said they're going to scrap those plans.
Oh, I didn't know that was scrapped. Okay.
So they said they're going to scrap those plans. They're no longer doing it out loud. Let's put it that way. But the idea was these completely uninformed people are going to go into healthcare and take all the information from the healthcare. And I think the real reason they scrapped it is because they realized like, oh, you can't just do that. Oh, okay.
Facts. Because if they wanted to, then they would. But since it sounds like from you said it's too complicated to even do it.
It would be really hard to do. Let's put it this way. Somebody could do it with a lot of time and effort. I think they thought it was going to be like a one button, and it's not. And that is because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they came out, I want to say Thursday last week, and said, we're not doing a registry. We are going to pull information from existing sources. To them, my understanding of what they mean by existing sources, and this will make you laugh, is Fitbit data, pharmacy data.
Okay.
Because I always say, oh, so they can pull prescriptions of autism amoxicillin. Like, what are the drugs that you take for autism?
The flu. I didn't have autism until I had the flu shot a couple of years ago.
There you go. So
that's
there
sarcasm.
You go. Exactly. But
I just gotta make sure. I know you know that, but like some of the other people that may listen, I still want them to tweak out. Like, look, Kennedy's right. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Give your balls a tuck.
But and they haven't been super clear on what these other private sources of data that they're going to get information from are. Now,
can you put in your Fitbit? Sorry, can you put in your Fitbit like I'm autistic?
No, I mean,
that's
sure, maybe,
setting,
but like
autism.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody who paces around their house 85 times a day. Oh, that makes sense.
Is your heart rate up? No, I'm just pacing around my island in my house. Yeah.
Are you playing with your fidget again? Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Like that's
Are
what
you
it
awake? No, I got sleep apnea. Oh, okay. Yeah. Bruh, when you said Fitbit, I'm like, that was not in any documentation, was it? That it said Fitbit data? If it was, that's wild.
I read it I read it in an article. I don't remember if it's something that they said or something
Okay.
that somebody extrapolated, but like
Okay.
it definitely said like they're going to pull information from personal monitoring devices.
That makes sense.
And I'm like,
okay.
And like, oh, so you're gonna use my Dexcom to tell me if I'm autistic? Like, what? I don't know what you think is gonna happen here.
I'm telling you, man, they got your Google and Alexa. You know, they snitching on you, those motherfuckers. They know how many Legos you got in your house. The motherfuckers know.
There's a story
Yeah,
about
how many Squishmallows you got, motherfucker? I got too many.
there's a story about when my sister-in-law bought us a Alexa years ago for Christmas, and I just have this mental image of like we're bringing all this stuff back in the front door of the house. My husband's like, wait. I was like, what? And he like grabs the Alexa out of the pile, turns around, hurls it into the street in front of our house, and was like, that thing's not coming in my house.
No. Facts. They be watching, man. I talked about cutting my grass. I get like shit for that. I talked about getting a roof for like 1 second, inundated with roofing ads. It's like, bro, y'all listening, bro.
They're listening. Yeah. My dad always used to say that just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're crazy. And like, it feels like that. I walk around and I'm like, everybody's listening to me. And like, I let them into my house. Like I let my phone.
I wonder how paranoid your dad was now. I have questions.
Oh, my dad
about
was
your
super
dad.
paranoid. He's a psychiatrist. They're all paranoid.
I figured those motherfuckers. They know too much. The more you know, the more paranoid you are about people.
My dad used to work with serial killers for fun. He was paranoid.
I only like to date them.
There's a whole conversation we could have about my mother that we are not going to have right now, but just know.
Holy shit.
I mean,
man.
let's get into the real deal stuff here.
Why is she always picking meat out of her teeth? Jesus Christ. Crazy bitch.
Oh my God.
I'm joking. So I'm gonna pivot us one more time and then I'll
Yes.
kick it back to Spence. So you see him saying all this stuff, right? In the registry, all this stuff, autism. So there was that one big thing where he's like, your kids are never gonna read, your kids are never gonna bathe themselves, your kids are so disabled, it's destroying all these families. Like, do you think he said that to like be helpful for that specific population in which there is a lot of high sports needs, or do you feel like he was making a very generalist statement and trying to fuck over the whole community? Because he supposedly never met an autistic male at 70 years old. I guess they don't exist, 70-year-old autistic people.
A couple things.
Why do you think he even said that shit? Like, I'm sorry, that was big with general, but you get what I'm saying.
No, he said it because he's uninformed and because he has an agenda, and that serves his agenda. And there are other uninformed people who will just take that information as accurate because that's how his entire career has worked out for him.
Okay.
But then there's the other side of it, which is that he walked it. There's two things he said that I think are important.
Go ahead.
Not good, but important. The first was he walked it back a day or two later saying, oh, well, I didn't mean the ones who hold jobs. I'm just talking about the ones who will never be productive members of society. And that's what's important. Productive members of society. If they are not paying taxes, he thinks they're worthless. If they are not contributing financially to the tax base that he does not contribute to, they have no value to him. He thinks that we need to fix them, not because they are sick and need help, which they need support. I don't believe they're sick, but because the system then has to support them. They can't support the system. And he was very clear about that part of the problem is that these people will never pay taxes. Now, we know that's not true. Just because they're not paying income tax does not mean that individuals with high support needs don't pay sales tax on literally everything they purchase for themselves.
Good point.
So it's not true. But also, he lives in a world where you have a working class that supports the people who are above the need to pay taxes. They get around taxes. They don't have taxes. And so that's really what his comments are about. They want They want this quote unquote master race. I mean, that's not the words he's actually using, but because you need a healthy, subservient population to fund the whims and the needs of the authoritarians.
So it's kind of like when they say, like older folks, right? You're a scourge on society. The welfare queens and all that, you're a scourge. Black and brown folks, you're a scourge on society. Immigrants or like illegal immigrants don't pay taxes. Like, are you serious? They don't pay taxes?
Yeah.
I know a lot of motherfuckers with Social Security cards that ain't citizens now.
Yeah.
That are paying taxes and they're getting it deducted. So I get what you're saying. So it's because they're not contributing, which is still wild because there's a ton of folks that are moderate or high support needs that still do contribute to taxes your way, what you talked about, sales tax, but also a lot of motherfuckers got little small jobs.
Yeah.
A lot of people got small jobs. Let's be real. There's a lot of people with jobs. My brother, moderate needs, he got a job.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of folks with jobs. And so that's just wild. So a lot of us were talking about like, I'm paying taxes. What are you talking about?
I think, and then there's this also like, it's almost like this internal class warfare within the autistic community that it's created, because you do have these low and moderate support needs individuals who are like, shut up, I pay taxes every day. That's only a small percentage of us. There are so many more of us than those people. Those are different people from us. This is one community. If they're going after them, they can go after you. We don't need to differentiate people who have high support needs so that people can determine who is the good autistic and who's not, right?
Also true.
Like we can't other people who are nonverbal or who can't keep a job for whatever reason,
mobility issues, verbal issues, emotional issues, all of it.
Yeah, and then not to mention like often if you're autistic, it's not the only disability you have. And so are we
also true
creating like a hierarchy of disability there so that, well, I'm the one who's allowed to exist because I'm going to have gainful employment and just have my meltdowns at home? Like that's not how it works. So it's creating this hostile environment for already very marginalized individuals who often who in many cases don't have language or don't have a spoken language or have very low capacity for communicating through words, to the people around them. People who do have language but don't have the ability to participate in gainful employment. Like it's creating this idea that those are somehow the bad, undesirable autistics, and we should all just normalize and accept the rest of people into society because they are, they have the good kind of autism. Like that's not how it works.
It's like what they say to Spence that with the Asian folk and Indian folk with the model minorities, isn't that what they call them? Yeah. Versus like black and brown folks are like, nah, y'all motherfuckers trash. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. And then there was this one bill recently, I think it was, or it wasn't recently, it was at some point in California where it was about how people who were descendants from slavery, they were going to get into schools a lot easier because they were descendants into slavery. And then a lot of the Asian community actually came out and spoke against that, and they voted against it in California, which is always interesting because you're like, I thought we were minorities.
That's how the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Correct. And all the recent stuff in the past couple of years, Spence, with like Columbia and Harvard and all that, where the white folks was trying to like strike down all this stuff. And what they ended up doing is getting these Asian folks to co-sign it, and then it all passed under them. Yeah. And so now, I don't like anyone that is bad shit happening, but so now the Asian folk are freaking out because immigration stuff, they're saying they're all spies, collecting data, right? So now they're all freaking out. I'm like, yeah, y'all chicken's coming home to roost, isn't it now, motherfucker? Hate saying that, but I've had some very honest conversations with clients like, y'all don't come crying to mama because the white man coming for you now. Right? Because you thought you was better than us. Okay. So it's the same thing in the autistic community. I've noticed. I'm gonna pivot to Spence to ask a question here, but I've noticed a lot of that. Hey man, stop trying to segregate yourself out. Like I'm the good one versus the super disabled one, right? I'm just trying to make up words there, but interesting it's been a lightning rod the last feel like 2 or 3 weeks of all this shit.
It just the the sensory crash I had on Friday afternoon after just, I mean, because we had to rebuild, we basically on no notice had to rebuild all of our security systems in the event that the Gestapo shows up at our door and demands our records. What do we do?
Okay.
Like, what do we do?
Facts.
We had to rebuild our information security policies. I had to reach out to my EHR and say, I need a written policy from you in a week about what you're going to do if somebody demands your records illegally or even legally, and how you're going to notify us if it happens, and how you're going to comply and how you're not going to comply, and if you're willing to go to jail in the event that they threaten you. I want that in writing. And if you don't give it to me, I'm taking everything offline. Because what else do you do? I can't trust anybody who has my patient's data.
No.
Except me.
Yeah,
I know what I'll do with it. I don't know
them.
what you'll do with it.
Facts. I got you.
Yeah.
Spence, you got any follow-ups to it? Doesn't have to be this, just in general, her practice stuff.
Yeah. So backtracking a little bit, talk about workplace trauma and burnout. When we talk about that, what are some early signs for people that they should be looking out for when they before they even reach that breaking point?
Yeah. So first thing I always want to say when we talk about this is I'm not a clinician. I'm a person who experienced it. I have a team of clinicians who are way better at this than I am. But I also personally experienced horrendous burnout that left me on the couch for 5 months after I left a job that was super traumatic for me. And so I think the first thing that most people who come into our groups about burnout, trauma, toxic work environments, et cetera, talk about is guilt. They feel a lot of guilt about not being able to do enough, not being respected enough, not getting the response that they're hoping. Yeah, they're hoping from their work.
Yep.
That comes up a lot. Then the other thing is there's this switch that happens where you go from being all about the outcomes to starting to wonder if you care about the outcomes. Like, do I actually care if my boss notices that I did this job? Do I actually care if somebody's upset that I missed a deadline? And that, especially in high achieving people who tend to take a lot of pride and a lot of ownership in their work, I won't say that's a bad sign, because that may actually be a sign that they're paying attention to their body and the fact that their body is screaming at them that they need to take a break. But it is a sign that you are reaching a limit that you can't keep doing this. Often people don't realize that they are at risk of burnout until they're way into it. Like for me, I literally, my husband, it was right before Christmas. My husband took the kids out so that I could get the house ready and get some presents ready. And they were gone for 6 hours. It was the end of the first year of COVID, and I was working in telehealth at the time. So like we had been working 100-hour weeks since March. Yep. It was nonstop. And I had everything ready, and I just kind of like looked at the couch. I hadn't done that in so long. And I went, what if I just like sit down for a minute? I don't think I've done that in months. And I sat down on the couch, and 6 hours later when my husband came home, I was still there. And he looked at me and he was like, wow, you did a really good job. I had you cleaned up everything really well. And I was like, yeah, because I didn't do anything. I've been here the whole time. And I was, at this point, I'm sobbing. He's going, what do you mean you didn't do anything? Is everything okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. He's like, what's wrong? I don't know. What do you need? I don't know. I couldn't answer questions. I couldn't figure out what I needed. I didn't know why I was crying. All I knew is that nothing felt flat enough. I would lay down on the couch, wasn't flat enough. I would lay down on the ground, not low enough. I would lay down on my bed. This doesn't feel right either. It was like my body was so tired that there was no way to get low enough to feel like I was getting any kind of relief. Me being me, I thought, well, I'm just going to rest for a couple of days and then I'll go back to work and it'll be fine. I probably just need a couple days vacation. Maybe I'm coming down with something. Took 2 or 3 days off. I still got the house ready for Christmas, like my Jewish ass running around doing Christmas stuff, which is always hilarious. but we still got it ready. So like, even in my completely burned out state, like we still did Christmas. I still wrapped all the presents. I still did all of it. And then thought, well, I have a couple days off after Christmas. I'm just going to rest. I'm going to rest for a while. I think I did 3 days, was supposed to go back to work. Didn't go, like literally just didn't go back to work. Didn't call out, didn't let them know, just didn't go back to work. It didn't really matter because it was that like nebulous after Christmas period that like nobody knows what day or time it is. And so like nobody noticed, but for me, that was wild. Got to like January 3rd. I was like, all right, I've been resting for over a week. We're good now. Couldn't go back to work. Ended up taking like 2 weeks off, which is definitely not like me. I don't think I'd ever taken 2 weeks off, ever. Did take my 2 weeks off, was like, all right, I'm rested. I'm ready to go back. Tried to go back to work working the way I did before because I'm a very smart person. Was back for 2 days before I was back on the couch. Because my body was just done. And so if you get to a point where your body's making it clear, you're past the point of no return. There were signs for a long time that you've been ignoring it. And I see that a lot. I especially see it from women. That is not to say that it doesn't happen to men and non-binary individuals, because I know it does. I see it all the time. But women, women are expected to be full-time employees at work. If they have children or families, they're supposed to be full-time family outside of work. I don't know a woman who has a family or is a caretaker for someone who isn't working 100 hours a week. You might not be getting paid 100 hours a week, but you're working 100 hours a week. And so, and the super fun, obnoxious part when you're a woman is that you do it and people come and give you all of this praise for being superwoman. You handle everything so well. You do so much. I'm so impressed. You are superwoman. Don't freaking call me superwoman. Help. Find something so that I don't have to do all of this 37 hours a day.
No, you did it. You did it on your own. You don't need me. You proved you don't need me. You're, you wanted this feminism shit. You got it.
Exactly. And so, the point of that is typically when someone comes to me or comes to us, they're not saying, I think I'm on the verge of burnout. They're saying, yeah, I don't know what to do. I can't even muster up the strength to get into work. If I have to talk to my boss.
At that moment, they come to me and you, they're disabled.
Yeah.
And that means me and you are filling out, or your clinicians are filling out disability, short-term, long-term. You're talking accommodations at HR. You're talking a bunch of stuff. You're doing medication, extreme amount of rest. How much rest? I don't fucking know until we don't want to like die anymore, maybe move. You're talking, I've got a client recently that pushed themselves so hard from stress. The thyroid gave out. They continued to push. They didn't know what was wrong, and they almost died. They told me in session because I was shocked, and I started crying. And I was like, bruh, and they were like, it's fine. I'm like, no, let me suck this up because I'm supposed to be here for you. But since I love you so much and I care so much, and I can't believe you're falling apart like this, you can't fucking do this burnout stuff. Stop it.
Yeah.
But very perfectionistic. A lot of my neurodivergent girlies, they're going to grind. They're not paying attention to the body because their mind is inundated with other shit. And then for a lot of my women, their partners, doesn't matter what gender the partner is, will be like, hey, well, I miss you. And my other kid, I don't have any love to give any. I have work to do. I'm inundated. Like sex? What do you mean sex? I don't.
Yeah.
Girl, I'm depressed as shit, but they don't know they're depressed. And so the reason why I say this to you is I love that Spencer brought this burnout out, because so many of our individuals that we see that are neurodivergent, they're autistic, are so past burnout. And it gets really scary when it gets into suicidality, because now how long has the burnout lasted? Will I ever be the same? Yeah. I'm like, I don't fucking know if you're going to be, I don't know if I want you to be the same as what you were before.
That's not the goal. Yeah. The goal isn't to going back to what you were, because that was never sustainable and never okay. So there's two things I want to say about what you said, because I think it's really important. The first one is, I've said, people get tired of me saying this. My dad was a psychiatrist. One of the things he used to say all the time is that the first sign of depression he looked for was not sadness, exhaustion, poor concentration. It was fighting with the partner. Because
I'm
when you're
depressed as shit.
depressed,
I'm sorry.
because
I
when
ain't
you're
got a partner.
depressed, you can't concentrate. You can't pay attention to the things that your partner's saying. You
Yep.
can't validate their needs. You can't be there for them. And they start to feel it personally that you're mistreating them.
Facts.
And so we would have patients come in all the time and say, like, I don't know what's wrong with us, but we all of a sudden can't get along. And it's because one or both of them are depressed and they're not getting any feedback from the partner that they need that makes this a valuable relationship for them.
Agree.
And that it feels like being ignored, it feels like being unloved. And in reality, it's just you can't concentrate. It interferes with your ability to pick up on what the other person is giving you. You often can't have a sexual relationship with them. You're denying their needs. That's what they feel like, even though that's not what's happening. And so that was always the tell. He would say, "Are you fighting with your partner, or is your partner mad at you?" And they'd say, "Yeah, all the time." All right, I know what this is, because it's like it's very, very clear cut.
I like that. That's never been
The
told
other
to me
thing
before,
is,
but that makes sense.
we did not set out to be the company that was providing autism services across the country. We really didn't. We set out to really address this issue of toxic work environments, burnout, the things that I had experienced and quickly learned that so many people were going through. But what we found after running groups on burnout for really not even that long was that something like 25% of our patients, or the group members are not patients at that point, would come in and then reach out to us afterward, because we always say, we have additional services available should you need them. If you need a higher level of support, we're here. And they would say, I really think I should be tested for autism spectrum disorder, because I think that might be contributing, but like I have no idea where to start. And we would say, yeah, we don't really know either, because tools for adults are non-existent. And if they do exist, you're a year out, or it's incredibly expensive, or they don't take your insurance, or if they do, even with your insurance, it's thousands of dollars. And so we were able to find some stuff, but we operate all over the country, and there was no way we were going to find any kind of really easily repeatable resource for people who wanted access to those services. And then there was also the question of, like, why is this so difficult? Like, it's not new that we know we have undiagnosed adults walking around. We know that. That was the crux of changing the diagnostic criteria. Not that they weren't also autistic then, but they defined it differently. So why have we not, like, made any effort to address this in a different way? And that's what led us down the path. It was burnout that led us to autism, not this idea that we can test for autism. Our patients were like, we don't know what to do. And if I don't get accommodations at work, I can't work this job anymore.
True.
Well, all right. And that's how my brain works, is how do I break this so that we can fix it?
There you go. Shit happens quick. Spence, what do you think, man? We get into the movies?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get
into the tism.
Yes, because we haven't been talking about that forever.
My client called it Mr. T the other day, and I fucking died. Mr. T for tism, autism.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I got Mr. T. Nice. Sorry, continue.
All right. So we're going to be focusing on Guardians of the Galaxy, and specifically on Drax. So if you don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy just follows this group of misfits who are just trying to protect the universe, or that's how it ends up. Dave Bautista, he's Drax. He plays this warrior whose family died, or who were murdered from Ronan the Accuser, and he's seeking to get revenge on Ronan. And then in the first scene that we see, they're all in prison, and Drax actually has Gamora And he's threatening her with a knife because she worked with, because Thanos is her father, and then also she, worked with Ronan, the accuser, because Ronan's under Thanos. It's a whole fucking thing. And
Something
so
something multiverse.
it's all they're all
The green
connected.
people, the blue people. It's
Yeah, they're aliens, they kill people, and yada yada yada. But and so now he's, holding a knife to her. It's just like, hey, if I kill you, then I'm kind of getting revenge on Thanos slash Ronan the Accuser. And of course, Peter Quill, aka Star Lord, talks him down. And then we have a great scene where he's like, all right, I didn't get to kill you, but I'm gonna take this knife. All right, that's my knife now. And to the chagrin of another prisoner, he didn't like that. That was his favorite knife, and apparently that knife gets passed around. It's fine. No judgment there. But
not slut shaming.
no, never, ever, ever. So we know that Drax is known for being literal, straightforward, but then also misunderstood. How do you see his character connecting to the real world neurodiversity or trauma experiences?
Yeah, I think there's actually a couple things that I don't think I even thought of before from your description. So we see a lot of patients who come to us with eventually diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and they describe them, if they report having friends growing up, they report for the most part that they were friends with the other outcasts, the other weird kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea of 5 weird people, quote unquote weird people, hanging out together is very typical of neurodivergent experiences in youth. And they're in this case adults, but and often, like, we see that in adults. People go find their people. They have the same common interests. In this case, it's killing someone for a big bounty, which just could be a common interest, I guess. But I think the misfits thing, the fact that they're this like ragtag band of people who probably shouldn't be successful, but because they balance each other and tip the scales to each other's way when they need to, it works, is very typical of neurodivergent friendships. And the other side is that obviously Drax is grieving. He's grieving throughout his entire character arc, through anytime we see him in these these movies or any of the movies. But also, I think that idea of loss is so important, because we see so many people who say that they've never been able to make friends. They've never had friends, but they all have, or not all, but many of them have long-term partners and families. And first off, it speaks to the fact that that is clearly a very different relationship. So they're able to manage intense relationships, but they're not able to manage more, just low-key, there's a word for it, but relationships that don't require daily maintenance. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
They can handle daily maintenance relationships, but not more low-key relationships. And I think that's very representative in this intensity that Drax has, which is that he found his daily maintenance. It was the one relationship he thought he needed. It was the only one he cared about. It still, at this point, is the only one he cares about. He had a child from it. That's an extension of it. And that is very typical of a lot of our patients, not the whole destroyer part, but more the one strong relationship part. What I really like about it is, though, he has this very emotional response where he definitively decides he is going to make a big move to do something. And when he isn't allowed to do that thing, he steals the knife. And he says, I like this knife, I'm keeping it. And that just makes sense to him. Fine. If you are not going to let me kill the person, I am going to take this little treat that is now mine. And I love that. I just think the way it comes down, the way he balances this giant explosion that he has, is so perfect for that type.
I think it's cool because he just locks on an object. So many of us lock onto certain objects that mean a lot
Yeah.
to us. So let's back it down to like childhood. Usually in adulthood, depending on where you're at, right? You know you can't take like certain things, but when you're kids and you take that thing, they usually deregulate, right? And they can't calm themselves, right? And so in that moment, I see like this very deregulated Drax going through his trauma and all this shit, and then he's like, I already liked it this, but I couldn't have that. Now it's mine. Mine. I feel like I just hear him say mine. I also think it's just cute as shit. Like I've done that where I walk into a store, I'm like, yep, I want that.
Well, and
I
also
relate
the fact that he very directly communicates it.
very
I like
directly.
this. I like this knife. I'm keeping it.
And also with almost no emotion
Yeah. No
behind it.
nuance.
No, there's a word. No nuance behind it. It's just like nothing, no detail, no explanation. He's like, by the way, I've liked it this, and I'm gonna murder other people with this, and thank you.
Thank you for giving me my murder tool. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I didn't even explain why he liked it. He's just like, I like it. But he looks at it, and I'm like, did he like it because it was rusty, pointy? Like, I don't know. Like, is it fucking the Green Ranger's fucking dagger? Like, well, why did he very autistic in the way he was so blunt and
Yeah.
straightforward? But also I thought about, and we can move on to the next scene. Sometimes with folks, they may not be able to articulate why they like something. It could be touch, it could be scent, it could be the smell, it could be the feel of it, right? It could be the weight of it. A lot of toys in my office, right? Depending on what they say or tell me, I'm like, here, try this. And they're like, no, try this. No. Oh, this one's nice. I'm like, yeah. A lot of my clients like some of the heavier objects, but I have other ones that like the stretchy ones, the moldable ones, the ones that make more noise. Just depends. I have 2 or 3 of the same toys, but they're made by different companies. And often they always choose like this one over the other ones because of the sound it makes is more stimulating. So who knows what that knife could have meant? I feel like for a lot of neurodivergent individuals, ADHD, OCD, anxious, PTSD, there could be certain objects that mean a lot to you. I think it means a lot to have that object with you when you're trying to emotionally process and regulate, specifically through trauma, like you talked about. So objects, I think it means a lot to us more than just like this simple scene. There's reasons why he liked it. It could have been that it reminded of him of something, his favorite murder. I don't fucking know. Nostalgia,
His
This one
favorite
smells like the
murder.
bloods of my victims. Okay. Keep us moving, Spence.
Yeah. So with Drax, and just talked about it, but he struggles with those social cues. And he's also very loyal, and he's also very honest, and loving, that we come to find out as well. Um, how can we better appreciate and support people who might show care and connection differently than everybody else?
I think it actually is something that Naj just said. Being very direct about the why. Hey, why did you do that? Can you explain that to me? Hey, I want to understand this better about why. Hey, you brought me this thing that I know you like, and I'm not sure if I understand why. Can you explain that to me? Because often if you just stop and ask why, and this is this is everybody. This is not just neurodivergent people. But if you just stop and ask why, some people will just explain it. And I think often I've rarely been in a situation where I have asked somebody who is autistic and using one of our services, or even just somebody I know, why they did something where they haven't given me a completely transparent answer that makes sense, at least in their context. And like, it might not be the way I would do something. It might not be the way that I approach things, but just being willing to notice, okay, well, that was a little bit different, or that is not something I've experienced before, but this person did it on purpose. Let me ask why, shows that you are open to however they process, that you are willing to adjust to however they process. And it makes a really big difference in building that relationship. And I also don't think that's specific to just neurodivergent people or autistic people. I think if we took more time to stop and go, hey, why are we doing this thing? Or why do you need this? Or can I explain this? Or can you explain this? We would clear up a whole lot of misunderstandings from different communication styles, from even people who get most social cues.
I agree.
Let's go on to the second scene. Um, so this is when they are escaping the prison that they were all at, and as they're about to try to fly off into this little ship, um, Rocket is not only being his sarcastic self, where he's saying like, "Yeah, I wanted that one guy's leg," and Peter Quill grabs it, gives for. He's like, "Yeah, I don't need that," which is hilarious because he does that all the time. He's like, "Yeah, I want your arm." I think he said
He's a
that to
shit.
Bucky. He's like, "I want your arm, Bucky," and he's just like, "No, the fuck, it's my arm." And actually at the Christmas special that they have for Guardians of the Galaxy or holiday special, he actually is gifted his arm, which is hilarious.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know how the hell they got that, but yeah, they got it. But there's also this part where Drax is talking literally once again, where he talks about nothing can go over my head because I could catch it. Like what? There's nothing here. We talk like what made you want to pick this scene out of all the scenes with Drax? And how do you relate to it all? Do things go over your head or do you catch them? Is that like what's the deal here, L2?
Well, I'm short. I'm 5'2" on my tallest day,
So
so
quite literally
everything
goes
goes
over your
over my head. My husband is 6'1", and every now and then he looks at me and he's like, "Wow, you're just all the way down there." And I'm like,
Yeah.
literally, we've been married for 15 years. This is not new information. I have not gotten shorter.
Yeah.
Well,
But also I think we forget how much of our language is indirect, is not actually what we're asking. If we look at the words that are coming out of our mouth, most of it is shrouded in some way in idiom, in colloquialisms, and other fancy words that mean using words for other things. And if you are a person who is a very literal thinker, a very concrete thinker, and who doesn't catch on to variations in language naturally, then something like this is like you identify with this so directly. Um, the example that I always use is something that my dad used to say, which is if you ask somebody who has autism spectrum disorder, and this isn't that, this is just an example. It's not something that everybody does. But if you ask them how they feel and they show you their hands, because that's how they feel things. But to them, how do you feel doesn't mean what is happening inside your body. Do you have sadness? Do you have happiness? Do you have anger? Do you have anxiety? It means how do you touch things? Right? And so those kinds of things that in a neurotypical world are like, how did you not understand that? Well, of course they didn't understand that. You weren't actually using the words that you meant. You didn't say to him, he's very literal and he's not going to understand what you're saying. You said he's very literal and it's going to go over his head. Okay, well, I understand what that means, but that doesn't mean that somebody else does. And all you're saying is he doesn't understand. He's not going to understand, but you use something that in almost any language could mean something totally different. And so it's such a great example of this experience of being very, very literal and concrete and not having as much capacity for nuance and language. And to be fair, most autistic people can learn, but you have to stop and explain it. It's not like we're saying you have to change all of your language because they're never going to understand you. We're just saying they have to be able to say to you, "I'm sorry, I didn't get that one. Is that a euphemism for something? Can you explain that to me?" And then you explain it, and then they go, "Oh, okay. So if I say, got it, all right, I can figure that out next time." And that's the kind of development that they'll take part in so that they can be part of whatever environment you're creating.
Perfect. Spanish bro, I was with a client the other day and we were talking about what type of books they like. And a lot of my girlies, neurodivergent girlies, like romance. And they go, and it shouldn't have been funny, but usually it's me saying inappropriate shit. And I was like, oh, you like romance, this and that. She's like, yeah, I like it with, comedy, maybe a little bit of drama in it though, not just pure romance. I said, yeah, you don't like this smutty stuff purely. And they're like, no, 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 no. So they were like, I don't like the straight romance. And then they just paused and they're like, wait a minute, I didn't mean that. And I was like, you only like this? Or is it this? Like, what is it that you they fucking lose it, Spence. And I was like, hey, I get it. You're not in there heteronormative bullshit. You want them to have, some interesting holes and giblets. I get it. The kid's like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, you said it. The fact that they paused when they said, I would have never thought they meant straight heteronormative like relationships in romance novels. But for some reason, their brain latched on to that very specific way of saying it. They fucking were cracking up. I literally thought she was going to puke. It was hilarious. A lot of my clients know with me and Spence as well on the pod is that I'm going to say or do certain things. And if I do these certain things, then know that this is what this means. If I make this stupid Southern accent, that means I'm being a complete fucking idiot. Right? If I'm saying, if I'm using any voices, don't take me serious at all. So clients know what my moods are and how I communicate and what that looks like. If not, I will make sure I give them full informed consent. And I feel like we don't do that in friendships or relationships. Like you're just left to fucking drown in the water of information. And like no one knows what the fuck's going on. They're like, is she mad at me? I'm like, she is not mad at you. Please just text her back. Like, relationships are so complicated. Just like Drax struggles with things, many of us struggle with things. I struggle with a lot of shit sometimes. In day-to-day conversations, I'm like, oh, so you're having another baby? She's like, no, I'm legit just fat. I thought you just told the last person you're having a baby. I don't understand. But also I know as a man, I'm not supposed to ask, so you're pregnant. So I'm just going to walk away from the situation. And it was good talking to you. And she's like, no, come back. I'm like, no, I'm done with this. Fuck you guys. You're not getting HR after me for this shit. You motherfuckers. Y'all try. This is entrapment. I know what this is. Motherfuckers. Even, and real quick, and then we give it back to Spence. I make sure that clients know that they can ask me things. So like you said, why? So my clients will be like, Nas, I want to clarify something you said like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, why didn't you fucking ask me in the moment? Well, maybe it's because they didn't think about it or this or that, or like, but what I don't think you understand me, Nas. I'm like, oh, I didn't understand you. Thank you for the clarification. Sometimes you're not on the same page. And usually with like neurodivergent folks, sometimes it synchronizes. Yeah, there's still a lot of hit and misses too. Sometimes you're just in battleship. You ain't hitting shit. Like you about to lose this shit, dog.
So we actually have a Patreon that goes to support our scholarship fund to help under-resourced people get access to autism assessments. But part of what we offer through the Patreon is what we call a social skills text line, so that people who don't understand social cues can text questions about interactions they're having and get feedback. And I knew that it would be super helpful, and it's been really cool. The people are so sweet and they're so appreciative. But what I didn't think about is that most of the answers that we're giving, they'll explain the situation, we'll ask some questions, we'll figure out, where they're coming from, what they need, and then they'll say, okay, but what does it mean when so-and-so says X? And we'll say, did you ask? And they'll go, no, am I supposed to? And I said, I don't know if you're supposed to, but you could just ask and say, hey, this doesn't make sense to me. Is it possible that you could clarify for me? And they'll go, well, what if they think I'm weird? And the answer is, do you want a friend who's going to think you're weird because you need clarification? And they go, oh, no, not really. Okay, so we ask. And then the end result of that is exactly what it's supposed to be. Okay. But if that's 9 times out of 10, that's really the answer is, I don't understand what this person wants from me. Okay, it could mean X, Y, Z, but the only way to really know is to ask. And they're so scared that this person is not going to like them or to think they're weird or not want to continue this relationship if they go do the thing that they need to get support in that situation. But they never stop to think, do I want a person in my life who's going to treat me like shit because I need support in a situation? And the answer is usually no. And so it's really just coaching them to feel confident enough to let people self-select out. If this person is not what you need,
select out.
bye.
Oh my God. I really thought you meant suicide.
Oh, God, no.
Holy shit. Oh, they
I
self-selected.
don't want to be part of this friendship.
I get it. I
Bye.
get it. Holy shit. My brain instantly went to like bloop. They're just gone.
Thanos did not just snap
I was
all
like,
of the
do we have a
neurodivergents.
new term for fucking death? I've been selected. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. All right. Thank you. Dave, I agree with everything that you said. That was magnificent. Thank you, L2.
Yeah.
God.
All right. Third and last scene.
Let's do it.
So, so this is actually a part where they are in they're in this like this floating skull, essentially. This floating like skull of a god, essentially. That they actually I think it's called Nowhere. And they like the whole point of this plan is that they're literally taking out the resources of this planet, and there's a whole city, whole world inside of this skull. And so they were there to go to the collector and grab something from him, and on the way they're all having like their own little adventures. They're going in their own separate ways, essentially, while Peter Quill is trying to get with Gamora. um uh Rocket, Groot, and Drax are gambling and getting drunk, essentially, right?
As one
And
does.
yes, as one does. Why not? But in this, they Drax and Rocket start fighting because Drax is essentially calling Rocket like a rodent. A rodent, right? And he takes offense by even being called a raccoon, just anything in general, that he is like somehow a lesser being, right? Because at one point he was just a raccoon, and then he had all this stuff done. He has his own traumas that have happened to him, as we find out, especially in the third film. Um, and that really hits a rough spot for Rocket, and so he lashes out at Drax. They just start fighting. And what's great about just these films in general is that all of them have their own traumas that they've dealt with in the past, right? Peter Quill was his mom dying, and not knowing his father. With Gamora, it was literally losing her whole planet to Thanos, as we find out in Infinity War. Rocket, he literally was experimented on and then loses all of his friends by the same person. And then with Drax, his whole family's killed. So they're all really coming together through trauma. Even though they all are coming from separate backgrounds, they do have similar things that connect them, and that ultimately make them a team. Even though they do still have rough spots throughout the stories, which is fair, valid, which is and also very realistic, right?
Yes,
that's how it goes. But with Drax, he has a lot of emotional. He offers a lot of emotional depth, and really, when it comes to grief and just how it manifests differently into people. And we see that especially when he is talking about his family or anything like that, if it comes up. Especially in the second film when what's her face? Mantis is able to tap in and touch him and see inside of his head and all of the sad things that have happened to him and all the dark thoughts that he's had. We really get to see that even softer side of him. And so even though he has all of this great just when it comes to just emotional side, he doesn't show it because that's just not how he operates. And so when he calls Rocket a certain name, he's not doing it out of being angry, mean, or anything like that. He's being literal, and he's calling him essentially a rodent, and things like that. So my question is how how can we really say the intent of someone's words? And is it all about mainly getting their background and understanding them more as a person, and then being like, okay, they don't really mean that. They just, they just don't know how to say certain things. Or is it more of, or do we have to take it as like face value when we're talking to people? Because sometimes because, we also don't want to get hurt from what they're saying, and they don't know what we're going through. They don't ask us questions, so why would we ask them questions? Hurt people hurt people. So what you got for us, L2?
So I think it's there's like two sides to it, right? So first, yes, if we're dealing with somebody who's a very literal person who might not understand when something upsets someone else, um, it there it is gracious to give them some space and to say, did you mean that to hurt my feelings? Because it did hurt my feelings. But I also think that even people who have disabilities that interfere with their ability to communicate still are responsible for their impact over their intention. And so there is some education that has to happen there, which is that just because you didn't mean it doesn't mean that that person doesn't get to be upset by it. And that I think is harder to communicate, especially if you don't know somebody very well or you're not sure what their communication style is. There's this, and this is not the same, but it's similar. So my 6-year-old, we were trying to go on vacation. We decided to go to the beach, and then a hurricane hit 12 hours later, so we had to go home. That was our attempted vacation in the last year.
Okay.
But the kids were getting ready to go to bed, and I was in the bedroom part, and my 6-year-old came to the door and said, "Mom, do you mind if I close this so I don't have to hear you snore so loud?" And I went, "Ow." She goes, "What's that mean?"
Oh my God.
And I have since gotten a CPAP. Thank you. But anyway,
Oh,
I was
good.
like,
Shout out to
I
CPAP.
was like, I know you didn't mean for it to be mean, but the way you said it, somebody could get their feelings hurt by it. I did not get my feelings hurt because I know what you meant, but somebody could get their feelings hurt. And now when she says things, if I laugh sometimes, she'll go, "Wait, was that mean?" But she also kind of has learned that sometimes she thinks things, they come out of her mouth, and the people do not receive them the way she means them. Now that is, I'm sure she's neurodivergent, but this sounds flippant, we also don't really care. Like, we're not going to change anything. She gets to be who she is. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
But it is obviously much more complex in adults. There's other things that go into it. They don't have the same relationship that I have with my child. They're grown-ups. They should not be infantilized. But it's the idea is still the same, which is that you're allowed to pause and say, okay, did you mean to hurt my feelings, or did you just not realize that was going to hurt my feelings? And also, you're allowed to have hurt feelings. And so there's like a balance there. And I think the kind thing to do, and you don't always have to do the kind thing when somebody hurts your feelings, even if they didn't mean it. The kind thing to do is to explain and say, like, hey, in the future, if we're going to communicate, can you not do this? But that's not the way human communication works. Sometimes people say things that hurt, and you don't have the wherewithal to address it in that moment. And by the time you do have the wherewithal to address it, it's past, or it's not the right time, or there's something else going on. And so it's one of those situations where there's two rights. And I don't necessarily know that there's a wrong, because both of those people are right in the way they feel. And it can cause issues in relationships, because is it your friend's responsibility to educate you on how to communicate with them and how to not hurt their feelings? It is a friendly thing to do. It is a very kind and compassionate thing to do, but that doesn't mean that they have to risk getting their feelings hurt to be friends with you. And so there's just this balance there that is kind of hard to strike. But also, nobody's wrong in that situation.
Yeah, it's contextual. It just really depends on a lot of different factors. And so a lot of times clients will come to me when they're not making friends, or they've got friends and they're embarrassed, Spence. And so they're trying to retroactively go back into the mind, and we're breaking down the conversations. Like, did you say anything weird? Did you say anything inappropriate? Was that joke funny? Was that not funny? are people taking your jokes in good faith that you don't mean harm and that you're talking about science instead of like these other things? So I've got clients that deal with it all the time. I've got it where I say stupid fucking shit. And normally I'm nuanced enough to make it land the joke or the funny or the comment. But there's been plenty of times where I've been corrected. Like, that's not, no matter how you say this, this is not funny. And I remember being fucked up a couple times when I was younger. By younger, I mean like 25 instead of 33. I was like, yeah, no, this is actually not a funny joke at all. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to say this again to anyone. Okay, there you go.
But how do you learn that without learning it?
Home girl cut right into me, and this is horrible for you to say this. So she was very fucking direct. And the reason she wasn't going to be direct, I said, hey, what's going on? You good? They said, no, I'm fine. I said, oh, everyone else is laughing at the other thing. Why didn't you laugh? Because I'm autistic, I asked. I said, why would I laugh at that fucking joke? Why would I laugh at a Bill Cosby joke? I'm like, okay, got it. Yep, I will strike that shit from the record and it'll never be said again because now I understand. And so I put myself out there to ask because I'm trying to understand humans and friends and people. And normally certain things land and with other people it didn't land. And now I know why it didn't land. So my clients will come to me with shit that they know that they said they didn't land. Or they'll come to me with weird shit that they say that they're getting in trouble for. So I got in trouble for saying this thing about homicidality. Like, yeah, bro, you can't walk around saying like you're going to kill someone. Like, that's not. But why? I would never kill them. But like, you can't say that this day and age in schools. You can't tell people you're going to kill yourself and like you got sad boy vibes, but you don't mean that you're going to kill yourself. But everyone knows you got sad boy vibes, and so they have to report it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how nuanced you are. People are just taking your personality, student, right? Shit's happening. People are killing themselves. Certain things you can and cannot say. You can't carry this pocket knife on you being kind of an autistic, like white dude. That's kind of weird. And then you're saying you're going to kill yourself, but your fidget toy is a knife. I'm going to be real with you. If you were black and brown, you wouldn't be able to do that shit, period. So I have those real conversations all the time with clients. The intersections you have matter. And a lot of my clients were like, why? I don't fucking know why. Because of racism? Because of gender shit? Like, I don't, because dudes are wild? Like, you can't do this. So those conversations are difficult, but I love that I'm able to help people out with it. But in the moment, it's up to that friend or person. So Spencer was saying, like, how does it happen? I don't know. You got to be lucky. You got to be around good people. But sometimes you're going to be lucky like me where they're going to be mad at you for saying stupid shit. And just don't be defensive. Actually listen. So for autistic individuals, it's not always about you. And they don't hate you, but sometimes we need to refine our behaviors. And it's not like a code switch thing, because now I need you to, because maybe you don't understand or maybe you don't have the empathy for it or that lived experience for it. But we need this cognitive empathy where we can be taught things so we can intellectualize what's going on. Because I don't know what it is to be a woman. I don't know what it is to have all these fucking issues. I don't know what it is to walk down the street and not feel safe, but I can intellectualize what it may feel like, and then I can be there to support my client. I can also make sure that I tell boys what these things feel like and then why they should make certain comments or do certain things or ask if someone wants to be walked home. Well, why would I do that? They should be fine. No. They don't live in the body that you do. So it's a lot of teaching, which is fine because they come to me to be taught. But other times they're not coming to be taught. Go ahead.
Well, no, the thing I was going to say is sometimes kindness doesn't feel like niceness.
Facts.
And so that person who corrected you on a joke you made was doing the kind thing. She was correcting your behavior. She was helping you become a person who could better interact with their environment, who could make better friends. But she wasn't nice to you about it because niceness is making you feel comfortable in an environment that she was uncomfortable. 100%. And so I think it can be very hard to be a person, and acknowledging this, it can be very hard to be a person who doesn't understand why something didn't go well and to also have a negative reaction to it. That can feel traumatizing, and I get that. But also, sometimes doing the right thing for you and for your journey as a person on this planet who has to interact with other people is the kind thing, not the nice thing. And that does not mean that they're going to hold your hand and explain it to you gently. And sometimes we don't need things explained to us gently. Sometimes we need things explained to us harshly so we don't forget.
Sometimes you need hands be held to the fire, they call it, right? Sometimes you need that. Sometimes if you're a dog that pisses on the floor in the house, maybe we need to rub your nose in that piss and give you a little spank on the tush, you know? Sometimes you need to know that you fucked up. And rightfully so. It's worked for me. It doesn't work for everyone. Depends on you do it, how you do it, where you do it, who does it. I've been taught so many fucking things, man. My autistic ass has been taught a lot of things, and it had a decent amount of behavior modification stuff, schools when I was younger. But then eventually you're like this grown athlete dude that's playing football, and then all of a sudden now you're in a master's program with all women. The behavior is vastly different in how you conversate. And I'm like, oh, okay. Also, all of you are so pretty. I don't know which one to ask out.
So my very best friend is when he was in college, he was the team manager, I think they call it. I wanted to call him a water boy. He would punch me. But he
water.
Yeah. That's what they used to call them. I don't know. Team manager for a college basketball team that went to the Final Four. And so it was like a big deal. But when I knew him in school, he's still my best friend. We've been best friends for 30 years. But when I knew him in school, he was very, very Christian, very, very conservative. He's still pretty conservative. He's like this tall, at the time, was very overweight black man. Like he was like jolly. Like that's all I can. He was jolly. That was his persona. He very church going. His family is still like my, basically. He's still like my. His family is still like, his mom is my first phone call when something good happens, not my own mom. And so
black moms will do that to you. Yeah, they love you. Gotta love them. Shout out to black women.
Yes. And so he was always male. He always identified as male. He still identifies as male, but he was not a very masculine figure in my life. He was very kind of, for lack of a better term, demure. He'll be fine with it. He basically got to go to college for free because he worked with the basketball team the whole time. Yep. And so it worked out really well for him. He really enjoyed the work. He liked what he did. He got to meet some cool people. Man, did his language change. After spending all of his time with 6'5" ass chasing basketball players, like, it was
with the black man. You were gonna say that's what you were gonna say with the coloreds. I'm joking.
I did not say that. You said
you
that.
Didn't need to. Hey.
You didn't.
But like when I met him, when I knew him, I still know him. But before he did this, he had never even gone out on a date. He had never even talked about a girl to me. Like he was like church, school. That's it. There was nothing else. And I talked to him probably a year in, and he was like, oh yeah, I just got back from a party. Now, of course, he didn't drink at the party, but it was just like, you went to a party that wasn't affiliated with your church?
Yeah.
This is bizarre. And by the time he graduated college, it was like a totally different person, just because of this exposure to like probably very normal acting young men.
Just slamming ass. Yeah.
Shout out. Who were the total opposite of what he was. But I was so shocked. I was like, where did you come from? Who is this person? Like, I love it. Don't get me wrong. But like,
my man turned into Nick Cannon. Just
got baby mamas for days.
Days. Yeah.
Days and days. Years even.
His mother would eat him into the sun. He would not exist anymore.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Don't send this to his mom.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like, after he got on the basketball team, he was just, he was
cleaning up.
He was still never as wild as like most normal people are when they're in college. Yeah, he was still never close to that. No. And that to this day makes me laugh because he was so far away from where he started, and he was still basically like a choir boy. But still, like, I'll never forget the first time I heard him curse. I was like, Are you
okay?
Are you okay? Do you need help? And he's like, what do you mean do I need help? I was like, I've known you for 15 years and I've literally never heard you curse. And he's like, what? I talk like this all the time. I was like, no, you don't.
He's cool now. He's like cool as shit now.
Yeah. It's a cool water boy.
Oh yeah, he's a cool one. Uh-huh. He's like, this is
Gatorade.
water.
H2O.
There it is. Homeboy was crushing it. Well, good for him. I love a little sensitive boy
Got that
crushing
confidence. He got that confidence. Being on the
here's my
basketball
side
team.
piece.
He's like, yeah, I know that player. That's how it works. You go through, sometimes if you don't have the connections, you go through other connections and they get back. That's how it goes.
So,
get it.
So they're actually one of the players that he went to the Final Four with. I think they went to the Final Four. Played here in Orlando and got into a bunch of trouble for trashing a hotel lobby.
Oh shit!
And it was on video on the news, and I knew he knew him, and so I texted him and I was like, "You need to call and find out what's happening." He didn't know it happened, and so it was because I saw him on the news that he called this guy that they had worked together for a long time, and found out what was going on. And I was like, "Did he tell you what's happening?" And he's like, "Of course he told me, and I'm not going to tell you." And I was like, "Oh, man."
Yeah, let's go confidentiality.
Brotherhood.
Yep. They ain't telling no white girl what the brothers are doing.
What happened? You just wanted the tea. Get the fuck
Yeah,
out of
you
here.
just wanted
You
tea.
ain't gonna get the tea.
Yeah, girl, this stays bros before.
tell me what happened. Like, no.
Get out of here. Shout out to him. Hey man, the good thing is obviously he still stayed true to his identity, his core self. If we pivot back to Drax,
Yes.
he's always staying true to himself, true to his family, true to his trauma, true to his love, but he's growing through people, experiences, talks, dialogue. Mantis in the follow-up movies ends up being the biggest proponent of him becoming more real and actualized, more emotional. But I want to pivot real quick is you get Rocket, which is, and then we can get out of here. So Rocket, they called me vermin. Bro, that shit shakes me to my core. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be autistic. I didn't ask to have meltdowns. I didn't ask to have dyslexia. I didn't ask for this life. I didn't ask for my father to go to prison. I didn't ask to get my ass beaten for years maliciously by other caretakers. I didn't ask for this. And then they wonder why I can't operate in school. They wonder why I can't do things. They wonder I can't emotionally regulate. I didn't ask for any of this. And I have clients that are like, I don't want this. I don't want to continue living like this. I don't want to continue being suicidal. I said, kid, you get used to it. My clients were like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, yeah, I've been suicidal since second grade, dude. It's eventually become like your friends that you kind of talk to and you just kind of let them slide by. And no other therapist will say shit like that. But certain ones that know what it is will know that things may get better. I don't know when. But still, though, it's the constant tiredness, fatigue. It's that burnout that you talked about. And then people will tell you you're vermin, or they'll look at you like you're trash because the way you talk, dress, act, race, gender. And it just gets horrible to live with. To know that you'll always be looked down on. To know that some of my pretty little girlies that are very femme will always be looked down on in the professional space because of the way that she talks and holds herself. But I don't want her to change. Why would I have her change? Why would I tell some of my softer kids to become more masculine? Because that shit will kill you. And I don't try to get my boys, some of them, to be more feminine, to present in a better way, so they can act white in these spaces. But to constantly be inundated with your vermin is horrible. So when he says that, dude, it fucks me up because you can hear him wanting to cry, Rocket. You could hear it. And for someone like me who's like super autistic with emotions and empathetic and a lot of mirroring neurons, I'm like, bruh. I feel like a lot of us feel like that in all society, not just neurodivergence. Everyone has a vibe of that. Certain people have it more than others. I'm pretty sure everyone on that ship, Spence, like you talked about, all has their own trauma. I'm pretty sure they all feel like vermin. None of them. Or all of them, sorry. Even Thanos, both of his daughters, horrible stories with both the daughters. It's just, and you find these group of people, and I feel like a lot of people that do have trauma do bond together. Neurodivergent people do bond together pretty well. But we can bond also with neurotypicals. But that feeling of feeling less than, boy, that's a motherfucker there, bro. So I'm going to end on this, and it's super sad, but then I'll pivot. Spence, I've been telling you the last couple sessions, men's suicide awareness, trying to bring awareness to it, talk about it. Please get out, seek help. We just did a podcast on the Power Rangers. We talked about David Jason Frank too, taking his own life. We talked about Robin Williams recently. We've done some outreaches. Students just killed themselves at our campus. It happens a lot on our campus. And I asked one of my humans, I said, "You good?" They said, "Why wouldn't I be good?" Because you're always battling this shit. You almost did it, And he said, I understand. I said, "You understand what?" "I understand why they took their own life. Because I know how hard it is to exist and live in this world." So yeah, it's fucked up. I said, "You thinking about anything weird though?" He said, No, I'm good. So any of you that are going through it, that understand it, the stuff like Rocket or even Drax and the pain and misery, which leads to homicidality, which could also lead to suicidality via homicide, please reach out to someone. Please find some supports. Please find your community. Talk to, even if it's you, L2, like your best friend's mom, if it's talking to people like your company, if it's like your cousin, if it's a coach, if it's a mentor, please reach out to someone. Please, 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 please. I understand, you have autonomy, and I understand the world is terrible, but please, please, please don't die at your worst day. I don't have a follow-up to that, but I don't want you to die in misery. So I just wanted to say that, and to anyone who's going through it, because what just happened on campus yesterday. Sad. Lauren, magnificent, L2, to have you on the pod. Super fucking excited. I'm glad that you're hilarious too, and you took some of the jokes like a champ, like a fucking champ. I had some other ones in the chamber too, but you're being really good today, intellectual. So I was like, all right, let me not disrupt them too much. Spencer's like, shut the fuck up. All right.
Please don't ever let intellectualism interrupt your jokes. That's a waste of good jokes, please.
You were saying some good shit, so I need to let you know.
Yeah, you don't want to stray too far from the path, because then it'll just get off topic. I'm just like, how we talk about eggs all of a sudden? I don't get it, but that's how it goes. But yeah, thank you, L2, for coming on. Any plugs, social media, anything like that, website, yada yada yada?
Yeah, thanks. So you can find us at lbhealth.com. L as in Lawrence, B as in Benjamin, E as in Edward, E as in Edward, health.com. We have full mental health treatment, virtual. We have autism assessments. We have ADHD assessments. We strongly believe as an organization that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can go suck a lawnmower. So your information is safe with us, and we will make sure of it. You can find me on LinkedIn every day. You can find me on Threads all the time. If you want particularly unhinged, Threads is where you're going. Threads, it's ELLE_TWO L2. We have a Patreon that you can participate in, which actually fully supports our scholarship fund. And you can also find us on our podcast, which is Different, Not Broken, and available on all of your podcast platforms. I can't believe that I can say that I have a podcast. That feels very bizarre, but here we are.
You're a podcaster now. Welcome to the team, degenerates.
Degenerates. Correct. Correct.
They called me vermin.
They call me podcaster. Yeah, it's the same.
All right, so go check out Different, Not Broken. Go check out the podcast on all podcast forums. Once again, thank you, L2, for coming on to the show.
Absolutely.
Thank
you for having me.
Yeah, of course. No problem. You're welcome back anytime. Let us know. Let us know a different movie or show if you want to. You can come on back. But yeah, with that, I'm Spencer. That's Nas, Different Spectrum Podcast.
All right, everyone, much appreciation, much love, and remember, take care of yourselves.
Or don't.
It's completely up to you. Peace. Bueno. Woo.
My phone has been blowing up. All right.
It's blowing up? Well, all the shit you be posting, I'm sure it is.
It makes so many people mad.
I know you do.
The fuck?
Mostly white people, though, which is fine.
I'm white, damn it.
She called me vermin.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
very much.